Episode 12. Wendy Grows Up. The children decided it was time to go home. First, they sailed to some beautiful islands, and then they flew to London. Peter and Tinker Bell reached the Darlings' house first.
"Quick, Tink,"
Peter whispered.
"close the window. When Wendy comes, she will think her mother has forgotten her, and she will have to come back with me."
But just then, Peter saw Mrs. Darling looking into the room. There were tears running down her face, and Peter knew that she loved Wendy as much as he did. He left the window open, and a few minutes later, Wendy, John, and Michael flew through it.
"I think I know this place,"
said Michael.
"Of course you do, silly,"
said John.
"There is your old bed."
"Listen,"
said Wendy.
"Mother is coming. Let's get into bed and pretend to be asleep, just as if we had never been away."
So, when Mrs. Darling came into the room, she saw her children asleep in their beds. She called her husband and Nana.
"George! Nana!"
And they stood and watched the children with huge smiles on their faces. It was a lovely sight. But no one saw it except a little boy who stared in at the window and wiped away a tear. Of course, that is not the end of the story. Wendy asked her parents to adopt the lost boys. Mr. and Mrs. Darling talked about it, and of course, they agreed. They wanted to adopt Peter too, but he refused. He wanted to live in the Neverland and be a child forever. The lost boys grew up, just like Wendy, John, Michael, and every other child in England. One day, Wendy got married and had a little girl of her own. Her name was Jane, and Wendy loved her very much. One night, while Wendy was watching Jane sleeping, a little boy flew through the window. He was exactly the same as ever.
"Hello, Wendy,"
he said.
"Hello, Peter.
She answered.
Do you want me to fly away with you?"
"Of course,"
said Peter.
"I can't come.
Wendy said sadly.
I don't remember how to fly."
"I'll soon teach you again,"
smiled Peter. But his smile disappeared when Wendy stood up.
"You are grown up,"
he said.
"Yes,
said Wendy.
the little girl in the bed is my baby."
Peter looked at the sleeping child and he started to cry. The sound woke Jane up.
"Why are you crying, boy?"
she asked.
"I wasn't crying,"
said Peter.
"What is your name?"
"Jane."
"I am Peter Pan."
"I know,"
said Jane. She took Peter's hand and they began to fly around the room. When they reached the window, they looked back at Wendy. Of course, Wendy let them fly away for an adventure together. She watched them from the window until they were as small as stars.
There's a very special place where nothing's what it seems. It's a magic fairyland, we go there in our dreams. We can fly together, so come and take my hand. We'll be young forever in the magic Neverland. There's a place where stories live, where all our dreams come true. where fairies fly and mermaids swim. They're calling me and you. We can fly together, so come and take my hand. We'll be young forever in the magic Neverland.